Welcome to another edition of Globespan 24x7. Today is Wednesday. We welcome you, viewers and listeners. Tonight we'll be discussing the diaspora, the role of the diaspora in Guyana's economic development. With us tonight are four distinguished speakers: Peter Ramsaroop, Dave Narayan, Mr. Gavin Alain, and Mr. Mahindra Hariraj. Let me first give an introduction to each one of them before we begin our program tonight. First, Globespan 24x7 is brought to you by Mr. Nohar Singh, who is the producer owner of the program. And with us tonight as the technical assistant is Mr. Devin Bissoon. Peter Ramsaroop is no stranger. In fact, all of these gentlemen are well-known diaspora specialists. They grew, well, I wouldn't say they grew up in the diaspora, but they all lived in the diaspora. Peter Ramsaroop is very well known. He's today the director of, CEO of Go Invest in Guyana. He studied in the United States. He has a doctorate in business, Dr. Peter Ramsaroop. Dave Narayan also lived in New York and still lives in New York, but goes back and forth between Guyana and New York. He's a very successful businessman. He's a sports enthusiast. He's a sponsor of many sports programs, international sports as well. Mr. Gavin Alain comes from a very distinguished family of lawmakers in New York, as well as judges in New York State. Gavin is formerly from West Berbice. He lived in New York for a while. He studied at Syracuse University, also University of California, and also did law in Georgia. He currently resides in Atlanta. Mr. Mahindra Hariraj, is he on as yet? Currently lives in New York. He also studied in New York, and he is an adjunct lecturer. Gentlemen, welcome all. Please feel free to add to whatever limited introduction I offer you. I didn't do justice to your background and your career. Peter, would you like to begin? Would you like first to add anything to your background? Dr. Peter Ramsaroop. Doc, are you hearing me? Devin, is Dr. Ramsaroop on?
Yeah, sorry about that, Vish. I was on mute, but thank you for allowing me to be part of the program. I look forward to our discussions. No other introductions. I'm right here ready to give my input.
Dave, would you like to add something else to your background before we proceed?
No, thanks, Vish. Simple introduction is fine with me.
And distinguished as well, Gavin.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Bisram and my distinguished colleagues. It's definitely a privilege to be on with everyone and to be able to talk to Guyanese, both local and abroad. Certainly, I lived in Guyana for a while and moved to New York. Went to school, Georgia, in New York and California. I'm happy to be on to offer some insight.
And you lived for a while in Little Guyana.
I did in budding Little Guyana. I lived in Ozone Park for quite some time. My grandmother was an avid shopper at Liberty Avenue, Hillside Avenue. So that was our stomping grounds.
Yeah, okay. Mahindra Hariraj?
Maybe Mahindra is not on us yet. I spoke to him.
He did tell me he will join us a bit late. So let's begin right away with Dr. Peter Ramsaroop. Doc, first, you want to define for us what is meant by diaspora and what do you see as the role of the diaspora with regards to Guyana?
Well, as our president said a couple of weeks ago at the Diaspora conference, we are extremely connected with the diaspora, with our local Guyanese. You know, we see Guyanese as a family around the world. There's really not a lot of distinction between Guyanese in Guyana and Guyanese in the diaspora. I mentioned in that diaspora conference that many of the folks in Little Guyana and other parts of the world drive around with their Guyana flag on their dashboard, on their license plates. We in Guyana are very connected. There's been significant connection with remittances, visiting over the decades. And Guyana is our first love if you're in the diaspora. And our president has outlined a significant initiative to attract Guyanese back to our nation. There are significant opportunities in many different areas. And that's the definition of diaspora for Guyana, is that we are connected, and we want to be even more connected as Guyana move forward in a developed economy, as we move forward with our president's aggressive agenda in economic development and social development. I think all Guyanese coming together, and I will leave my opening remarks with this. Every possible dream that you had when you left Guyana, and you said you wish Guyana could become, I will tell you, we have the capability, the chances right now to make that dream come true. And that's where, when your program calls a call for Guyanese to come back home, this is the time to see those dreams come true. And I look forward to engaging with my colleagues. And it's an exciting time in Guyana. Guyana is on a rapid development. Our president has outlined a vision in our 2021 budget. We have fought for democracy, we have won democracy, and we want to see all Guyanese benefit from all the development that is going to happen as we move forward with the president's vision.
And when you say we fought for democracy, you mean the diaspora as well?
Absolutely. When you say we, that's what I said. I engaged initially. We are a family across the world. Guyanese are committed to Guyana, and we're proud of the diaspora involvement and Guyanese involvement. So we don't distinguish between the fight for democracy, I think, between overseas Guyanese and local Guyanese.
And specifically, what are you looking from the diaspora, for the diaspora?
Well, I mean, in summary, knowledge transfer is a key component. A lot of Guyanese have gone across to North America, Europe, Canada, and has done extremely well in knowledge and in development. I know Gavin very well. He's back in Guyana looking for a development project, which is very, very, and he will talk about that, very important to our future. And as we bring together both knowledge, financial, and dedication to the development of our nation, that's what we want to see happen. And I believe it's a welcoming sign that we have embraced that. And Guyanese, when they land on our tarmac and they come through the city of Georgetown and other parts of Guyana, can see true development. And all I can say, we're happy. It's the call for Guyanese to return home is a commitment by our president to say he wants to see those that have left in bad times or good times to come back and see that they can help develop Guyana to the future they believe Guyana should look like. And that's our president's commitment, and that's what we are there mandated to facilitate in both investment opportunities.
Okay, so I'd like to come back to that, but first let me bring in the other speakers as well. Mr. Dave Narayan, who is a businessman in New York and who travels back and forth, does tremendous amount of businesses from Guyana to New York, which helps Guyanese farmers and producers within Guyana. In fact, I think he's one of the few importers from Guyana who actually imports products from Guyana. There are several businessmen that sells quote unquote Guyanese products that are not Guyanese products, but Dave Narayan's products, from what I understand, is actually from Guyana. So Guyanese tend to benefit from his ventures. So Mr. Dave Narayan, having heard Dr. Peter Ramsrup, who's speaking from the Go Invest and on behalf of the government Guyana, what's your reaction?
Peter, I want to applaud you and the president and the government for the initiative of the Diaspora Unit. It's a step in the right direction, and I hope the people connect and take advantage of the this diaspora. I believe the diaspora has a very, very important role to play in the development of Guyana. Guyana needs skilled and qualified people to service and work in the new and emerging sectors such as the oil and gas. Those people are within the diaspora, serving as directors and CEOs and managers of the Fortune 500 companies. And we should extend to them to go back to Guyana. Over the years, the 20, 30 years, this was a battle that I had to battle with, why we're not encouraging the diaspora in many ways not to go back to Guyana, encourage them. And now with the fact that Guyana have a shortage of labor, we should tap into the diaspora force before we look externally. We have folks here who are graduate throughout all the colleges, university in oil and gas and environment and forestry, everything. We have people in UG, yes. We have people in UG, but it will take a long time to get the experience that we have already in the diaspora here. So, Peter, it's a very, very good thing that the President Ali has encouraged us to do here, to go back to Guyana.
So Dave, if I understand you right, you're saying that not only do we need knowledge transfer, but we also need those members of the diaspora to play leading roles in businesses, to be CEOs, directors, and so on of companies coming to invest in Guyana. We should not just be laborers, which that has been happening over the last 18 months.
Vish, we have guys,
and girls.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you. We have guys and girls, we have ladies and gentlemen, that they made the Pfizer medicine, the vaccine, a guy from leg one or something like that.
Yes.
Why wouldn't we encourage the diaspora in different fields to go back to Guyana so we can be the little Dubai or whatever we want to be, the Singapore? It will be a longer time for our folks in Guyana to do it. We have knowledgeable people. I've traveled across the world, and there isn't a place I've gone and didn't reach a Guyanese in key position. You know, I was in Miami the other day, met a few Guyanese. Today, I went to a car dealer. He's the owner of the car dealer, 2 car dealerships, one in Valley Stream, one in Flatbush. We have tremendous. I have a supermarket in Maryland, closer to Washington, D.C., and we have tremendous. These are my customers are potential. They are environmentalists, they're doctors, they're leading politicians, they're number scientists, everything there in the Maryland, Washington area. Not to knock New York. New York has the cream of the crop of it. So we should encourage the diaspora to go back. We should at all costs. They would help us expedite that country faster. Vishnu.
Okay, thank you so much.
At the same time, about the products, we might come back to it. Give another speaker.
George, Alain, you heard the 2 preceding speakers about knowledge transfer and a role in management. And you yourself are in Guyana looking at investment opportunities to assist with the development. How do you respond to the 2 previous speakers?
So I certainly subscribe to the notion that the gentlemen have presented. I mean, I'd like to point it that the diaspora impact on Guyana's current trajectory and development is critical and necessary. And I like to look at it from 4 fundamental pillars. 1, the global first world insight. 2, diversity of thought. 3, just the comfortableness in an environment of accelerated pace and play. And 2, Guyanese oneness. I think that these are going to be important pieces that a diaspora can bring. In terms of the global first world insight, that can-do mentality that we have become living, across the world is going to be important. Members in the diaspora, have worked within large-scale global institutions, right, and have seen these major initiatives roll out. They've also seen ideas, right, taken from concept to development. I think the functional, critical, and cross-functional skills that you gain, these you do gain in Guyana, but I think living and working in the diaspora gives you a great opportunity to see this in a very optimized setting. And just the exposure. In the sense of diversity of thought, and I think this one is also critical, right? Just to appreciate shared thoughts and ideas, right? Dissenting views, just the willingness to accept that there's another perspective outside of the one that you strongly hold is going to be important, right? The agility, right? Speed at which we get things done is going to be necessary in Guyana. And if we look back historically, both the US and France and Canada, they have all imported talented people. And so I think it's important that why not recall our people who've got the same talent and skills to come back and help with this development. I think being comfortable in the environment of accelerated pace is necessary. While I know Guyanese locals are working hard day in, day out, I think coming from the diaspora gives you an extra pep in terms of how you see the pace at which things have to get done quickly is going to be helpful. Time is money. And so speed, agility, and this insight and the ability to mitigate problems quickly, come up with solutions is going to be a necessary ingredient.
And on the issue of speed and agility, have you encountered any issues, problems? Because you have the CEO of Go Invest with us right now, so let's inform him of some of the problems, issues you're experiencing that perhaps he could take note of and work on them. I'm sure he's going to address those.
And so I haven't had issues, right? Certainly across every country development trajectory, there is going to be opportunity. And so I think it's incumbent on all of us in the diaspora and locals to recognize the need for us to understand where gaps are and to help, right? Government cannot do everything. And so it's going to take all Guyanese to make it better, to improve upon it. And so those opportunity lies in the hands of every Guyanese, near and far, abroad, to sell that message, to say why it's important to get things done quickly, right? To support the government, to support ideas, to support the track we're on, because it's better for us to get it done than we've got to import people from other places. And we certainly recognize and appreciate everyone, but I think Guyanese, we've got a sense of can do, right? How to do. Mm-hmm. And I think just coming together is going to be important in understanding where the opportunity lies.
Good. So also joining us this evening is Mr. Mahindra Hariraj. He is the Vice President of Finance for a museum in Manhattan. He's also an accounting professor at Monroe College in the Bronx, and he has had over 10 years experience in leadership for a nonprofit management, a nonprofit organization management experience. So Mahindra, would you like to join with us now about how do you see the role of the diaspora in Guyana's development?
Sure, Vishnu, and allow me to apologize for my tardiness, but ran into some issues with clients, so I had to resolve that. But I want to say a pleasant good evening to all of the panelists, such a dynamic panelist of individuals here, including yourself. But my take on this, the role of the diaspora is very simple. And one has to align that role with the reality and a pragmatic approach. The diaspora cannot be looked at in isolation to the development of Guyana. The diaspora plays a critical part in how Guyana is going to, go forward in its transformational growth, and how Guyanese itself will be a critical part of that. What is important, Vishnu, is that the mindset of individuals first has to change. What Guyana was maybe 40, 50 years ago is not the Guyana today. Guyana has been on a transformational agenda. We have seen under the certain administration, Guyana was on the trajectory of serious economic growth while the world itself was experiencing certain economic crisis. We then saw in 2015, poor management caused us to lose that momentum. But here again, what is important to recognize at this juncture is again the atmosphere is there to attract investment, to make the playing field welcome to people far abroad, not just in North America, but farther afield. It is critical that that environment and the mentality is in sync. Because if one does not have the environment to flourish investment, then you're not going to have that fundamental pillar for people to attract people. So what I think the current administration has quickly done is to turn around the perspective or the mindset of investors to come to Guyana. That's the first important thing. Investors want stability, knowing that their investment will be protected. They want to trust the partner in which they invest with. Having an unstable government that has a different agenda other than development and creating this idea of oneness, this utopian idea of oneness, is critical. What I see is the mentality has to change. This cannot be any longer a political party or affiliation or indoor Afro-Guyanese. We have to get past that mindset. The prosperity and the well-being of Guyana is for all of us. And once we could recognize that and capitalize on the current positive atmosphere, it will draw investments even further in Guyana. And I'm pretty sure Peter's office is maybe overwhelmed with calls and investment ideas. I have bugged him a few times. He could attest to that, right, with my crazy ideas. But this is just mere interest in Guyana. I'm pretty sure there are serious contenders that are willing to come and still are over this bad perception that was peddled for the last 5 years. But that has been repaired. What I feel the diaspora, have to take into consideration is that Guyana has been devoid for the last couple of years because of the political instability, right? But that has been repaired. What they have to come with now is a different approach, different mindset, work closely with the offices and administration, and their investment will be protected. Now, to say that all is well and it's a perfect environment, I don't think any investor will come from an elementary level and say that there is no risk associated with investment. So one has to balance and come with a prudent mindset, work with the different agencies, and I'm pretty sure, as you said, the diaspora has the resources. It's just how do we couple that resources with the environment that exists and make Guyana grow from strength to strength.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Peter Ramsroop and your attempt to reach him without any issues and problems. I travel back and forth to Guyana since it opened, I think, in September or October, and the people who tried to get in touch, interact with him, said they also didn't encounter any issues and problems. Go invest, they say, very helpful, very supportive. So let's get back to Peter. Peter, how busy have you been?
Well, definitely there's significant interest in Guyana from around the world. But one thing I want to mention prior to getting into that discussion is the diaspora connection to Guyana must be in context where, the president last Saturday mentioned that when we put out the expression of interest for hotels in Guyana, we wanted both the diaspora, international companies to come into Guyana and invest in hotels. And, we had close to 30 responses, 20 or so probably could happen. And the first two of $20+ million investments that will happen to build international standard hotels are from local Guyanese living in Guyana. And I would feel I haven't commended my colleagues that are in Guyana if I didn't say that publicly. So multiple investors have stepped up in Guyana to invest their money, whether through financing, to develop opportunities that we have proposed. The diaspora, including Ms. Allen, and I commend Dave. Dave has been probably one of the more integral investor in Guyana for decades. We all know that, both from, we see him more local, you may see him as diaspora, but we all realize that he's part of us. So that interactive approach where it's not one or the other, I want to make sure that we don't separate diaspora as having more knowledge or local Guyanese having less knowledge. we have the capability across the international spectrum and local spectrum to deliver on our president's vision. And with that, yes, we have become much more busy. We have investors in Guyana. I can tell you, out of the 30 investment agreements I have signed since January in Guyana, a majority is from Guyana. So I'm a little more disappointed that I didn't have much more diaspora involvement. And I think both the president engagement with the diaspora and with the international community is very important. You know, when we get to more detailed discussion in agriculture and technology and other support services, I believe we are open for those investment opportunities. We have to get past, and I open it in my opening statement, get past that a diaspora needs to fix Guyana. The diaspora needs to contribute to the development of Guyana. We're not looking alone to fix Guyana. Bringing that knowledge, Fish, you've been in Guyana thousands of times over the last 10 years, 20 years. You've written a lot about our future and what we're having right now. I think that interactive approach with the diaspora and the local is the most important factor. In our office, we push joint ventures. I would like to see a foreign company and a local company get together. It would be much more exciting to see a foreign diaspora company, diaspora unit, tied in with our local unit, get together to push the right development. And that's what I believe our president's view and vision is to why he set up the diaspora unit, is to see that integration. And if we can get to that concept that we are no different, whether or not I went to a university in New York or I went to a university in Guyana, our knowledge base or understanding of the investment environment is uniquely different, but collaborating, we can deliver much more to our nation. And that's what I want to leave this part of the discussion with.
Apparently, you're not getting that much investment from the diaspora as was expected. Could it be, or is it that the government is looking for what it can get from the diaspora as opposed to what it can also contribute to the diaspora? I remember, I have studied diaspora quite well, and I remember in the 80s, India, for example, was only talking about what the diaspora could do for India. And it changed that over the last 10, 15 years, where it says, we can also do for the diaspora. I mean, we meaning India. Could we see that transition also made in Guyana? Where?
Well, I think I really think our president vision and his first engagement in the diaspora over the last couple weeks tells the story that he believes that. He believes it's not just about recruiting diaspora back to Guyana, but it's to really bridge the gap between the diaspora and our local initiatives. So definitely, you know, what could we do for the diaspora? I mean, in terms of many issues that will come up, many of folks left Guyana because of the dictatorship in our country in the decades. We can never forget the fight for democracy, the fight against dictatorship. Many left because they could not see themselves moving forward in our nation. We have a country right now that is democratic. We have a country that has a president with a vision and an implementation plan that is much more aggressive than across the nation. We're the fastest growing economy in the world in 2020. We're going to be the fastest growing economy in the world in 2021. We got to catch the president's vision. We've got to get past whatever reason we left the nation for, why, if you got choke and rob in the 80s, when I left in 1980 with my family, the gold chain was taken off her neck. That's not the reason why not to come up back to Guyana. You have to look, Guyana is our first love. If you're in the diaspora, I tell you, when I'm in New York and Washington and any part, and you run into a guy and he's the first thing they want to know, where are you from? Who do you know this person? That love is always there. So if we can connect that love back to our nation, I think we can make it happen. It's not whether you're better or we are worse, or we are better and you're worse. It's the connection that says, I want to see Guyana develop. And that's what is exciting. Our president is committed to that vision, and we just got to catch that vision and make it happen. And what I tell folks, if you don't, you are going to be left behind. We are moving at such a rapid pace in our nation that you sit back and think, I didn't get a welcome as much as I want to. The economics of our nation is changing drastically, and I believe we will move forward rapidly. So, I mean, Mr. Allen is in Guyana many times. He's been in my office more times in the last couple of months. He's part of the development of the hotel chain. He has seen what he is looking to do, and I believe he will make it happen. Dave, as I said, has been in Guyana as an investor, and he's contributed to our economy, and we are proud to know that our products is part of the world. And so many other folks listening to this program got to realize, where do you fit? If you can see where you fit, you will end up being here and being part of our progress. You don't have to live here 100%, but you can be part of our progress. We have one of the best investment regime in the world in Guyana. Even if you're an American company, you're a Guyanese American company, you can
Devin, we're not hearing him. So,
Hi, Mr. Amsroop, I believe you're muted.
oh, I'm muted? No, I didn't mute it.
I'm sorry, I really missed that. I didn't hear that I was muted. What I was saying, sorry about that, folks, is that there should be no difference between what we offer in Guyana. Many companies are coming into Guyana. We have one of the best tax investment regime in our country. As an American Guyanese, you can come into Guyana, set up a local operation. You can repatriate all your profits to the United States with no penalty. Mr. Allen is in Guyana looking to develop one of the largest hotel chains in our nation. He's on this program. He understands why he is putting that. Dave Narayan has been in our country over the decades, moving our products out of Guyana. That tells you that we are prime, you're prime, in order to bring that development to our country. And there should be no difference between local and overseas Guyanese.
I'd like to follow up on that, but first we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'd like to talk about tax and security of investments, and as well as oil and gas. Devin, ready for the break?
Are you ready for the first ever Travespan Curry Duck Curry competition in Punta Cana, DR, along with cricket and Tassa, brought to you by Travespan, allfromonesupplier.com, Dave's West Indian and Abby Tunes Radio. Your all-inclusive getaway includes non-stop flights, 4 nights hotel, resort services, unlimited food, drinks, and exciting live entertainment, including Tassa, Marissa, DJ Sean, Randy, NRTG, and me, Terry G, the Bangali Babu, alongside surprise guest performers. Call Travespan 212-243-0865 or book online at travespan.com. Punta Cana, Docore, Punta Cana, Corridor, get on fire!
Allfromonesupplier.com has all your grocery needs, plus all of your West Indian items. Purchase all your groceries and all your West Indian items from one place and get free delivery to your homes and free shipping. Allfromonesupplier.com has free deliveries locally in New York and free shipping to all U.S. states. Our shoppers choose the best items, packaged nicely, and delivered to your home. We have all your grocery needs and all your West Indian items, a one-stop shop. So place all your orders on allfromonesupplier.com or call 718-551-3292. That's online at allfromonesupplier.com or call 718-551-3292. Get all your groceries and all your West Indian items from allfromonesupplier.com with free deliveries and free shipping to all U.S. states. Globespan 24x7 continues its efforts to serve the communities. The platform provides for all sides to air their views and discuss solutions. Viewers in Guyana and across the world are participating in these discussions. Globespan's platform offers Guyanese an opportunity to express their concerns and discuss solutions in the political realm, thereby addressing the polarized situation. Discussions also include social ills, such as alcoholism, domestic violence, and suicides that have been plaguing the people. The Globespan 24x7 platform connects the diaspora and the world with Guyana. So become a supporter of Globespan 24x7 today by clicking the badge icon on the lower right side of your screen. For only $10 a month, you will be a supporter of Globespan 24x7 initiative and have a badge displayed on your Facebook profile. Help us to continue to serve the communities.
Welcome back to Globespan 24/7, owned and operated by Ms. Nohar Singh, with Devin Bisoon as our tech expert. Joining us this evening, Peter Ramsrud, Gavin Alain, Mahendra Hariraj, and Dave Narayan. I don't want to put this burden on Dr. Ramsrud himself, so I'll just ask the other presenters, what are the concerns about investment in Guyana in terms of security of investment, as well as health security, personal security? Dave, you've been there. Gavin, you've been there. Well, what have been your experience, and how do you think this should be addressed?
So from my vantage point, Guyana is no different from New York, from London, from Toronto, or from any country around the world. I think the same precautions that we take any place in the world are the same precautions that are required in Guyana. And I think if you follow those golden rules, I think you'll be fine. I mean, certainly you're not going to walk around, with $20 million hanging from your back pocket. That'll be taken in London or in New York or in Frankfurt, in any place. And so my experience is to use the same kind of protection, cautions, diligence, and you'll be fine. And that's been my experience.
And you have been there and you haven't had any issues. And I go back and forth, and I myself have not had any security issues. Of course, one is always concerned and always have it in the back of your head, where you travel, to be careful and don't be extravagant in the way you appear publicly, especially in certain parts of the city. Dave?
Fish, and as Dr. Ramsrud say, I might be more local. They see me more local there than in the diaspora here. I migrated about 36 years ago, but I don't have no issues. You cannot go to Guyana and flaunt it. You cannot wear all these big gold chains, and you cannot go with a group to a bar or a restaurant and flaunt it. You gotta behave normal. And in that way, everybody treats you regular.
Or behave very extravagantly in the villages too, where you'll be targeted by bandits in the night or even in the day.
Exactly. You're gonna go, if you go in the villages and behave extra, you surely will be targeted. So I don't put myself in that position where I go to the market and actually go drive through border market maybe every night. And I would chat with the guys there and say, what's the best price? And not that I want to beat down their price, it's just that I want them to be alarmed that I am from overseas. I say, what's the best price on this or that? And so for you behave normal, I think you don't have an issue in Guyana.
Mahendra?
Well, just to build upon, Dave's point and Mr. Allen's point is, you don't do certain thing in the diaspora, why would you go and do that in Guyana? You have to exercise the same level of due diligence, care, right? You do not dress a particular way in New York. Why would you do that in Guyana while you're there, right? And I don't think Guyana is such a bad environment. It goes back to this perception that is misconceived, right? Guyana, as any part in the world, you open your front door in Queens, New York, you have risk outside. You might have more dangerous risk here, but because you have a larger population, it is not so profound. But in Guyana, the communities are so small and the population are so small, one crime might ripple across the country more intensively, but it does not nullify that you have to exercise certain precaution, right? And I think from a risk perspective in an investment, right? Even in an investment risk, you are exercising an investment, there are certain risks that is inherent with that investment. You have to be prudent. You have to exercise certain, checks and balances. You got to do your homework, right? So I see a lot of folks are saying Guyana has this problem. It is this mindset that I spoke about that has to change, and the collaboration has to happen across, across the spectrum, right? As I said, Guyana, and Mr. Peter Ramsrud said it. Guyana is not what you know Guyana 10, 50 years ago. The Guyana has changed. As you know, we have a democratic society. We know the fights that has gone on to preserve that democracy, and that is the environment people abroad or people who wants to come to Guyana wants to see. Now, I don't imagine, you know, every single aspect of whether it's theft or criminal activities will be fixed overnight, right? We have such sophisticated security law enforcement agencies in these developed world, and we still have these massive corruption and crime. Whereas Guyana, we maybe have limited resources, and as I said, you have to look at it. If you're measuring apples to apples, look at the population, look at the kinds of crime that happens there versus there.
And if I can quickly add,
surely we can't ignore or pretend doesn't exist. There has been crime in Guyana, and the diaspora is worried, is concerned. So Dr. Ramsarup, you want to tackle that? To make
well, I agree with my colleague said it. He said it best. Any part of the world, there are issues with security, and he put it in context. In the size of our population, the size of the villages, you're going to get front page newspaper and Kaieteur News or Stabroek News. In Chicago, there's probably 50, 60 murders every night, right? We may have something happen within a week and it's front page newspaper. So in context, you have to understand that. I think the perception that, and he said it and I said it earlier, when you left Guyana and you had your issues, what is it today? It's not that a lot may have changed. The president has instituted significant security measures. We are constantly working on curbing crime. I think crime went down 20-something% over the last 6 months. We are moving towards a more secure investment climate. And as our country move in a development state and as financial resources are expanded, you're going to see those changes happen. And I run on the seawall. I walk the national park. You know, I feel safe in Guyana, right? And it's not all, I would not go in the middle of the night walking down the street, as Dave said, because anywhere in the world in the middle of the night, I've lived in Washington, D.C., I can tell you if you go half a block outside of the White House, you may not survive. And we've got to make sure we don't give this perception of Guyana where we scare the diaspora for coming back, because we would have done them a disservice if we put that fear in them. I'm not saying Guyana is perfect as any other parts of the world, but you've got to come back with your expectations, and every one of us developing our nation can give a benefit to make it better. And that's what I believe this program, and I applaud our president, my president, Dr. Ali, for understanding that we need to link our diaspora with our local Guyanese. It is a must. 1 million of us outside of Guyana, 800,000 of us in Guyana, what we can do for this nation is unbelievable. Don't be left behind. Let's get over whatever political political affiliation. Look at the economics. If we can get there, you will do very well. And
you did mention security of investments. I wonder if you could just talk a little about that.
Well, I mean, any part of the world, you measure security and investment by democracy and by the rule of law. We have proven in our administration that our democratic policies, our security policies are aligned with the international community to protect investments, right? Our court systems, you know, our president, you know, if you look at even the Exxon contract, which folks beat up even in the previous administration, the respect that we had as an administration for the contract that was signed before, whether we agree or not, is what you call security of our nation in democratic. We may not do it ever again. We may make sure that we get a better deal in any future environment. But the fact that we have respected what was done before tells you about our democratic principles. And let's continue to fight to make sure that we enhance our democratic principles. And Dr. Ali is, very, very big on ensuring that the principles of democracy continues. And that is what investors are looking. When I sit in my chair and I've got, just recently, I've got 6 private jets land in Guyana. Billionaires from around the world that says, I want to come to Guyana and see why Guyana is so important in the future. And they're here, and they know one thing they tell me, if it wasn't for our fight for democracy, they would have never landed in Guyana. They believe that their investment is safe. They're looking to see where the opportunities are, and they're looking to see whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in technology, whether it's in oil and services, manufacturing. The fact that we're moving to cheaper energy in a few years, moving the natural gas ashore, we will become more competitive around the world in other countries around the world in many other areas. So if you're in the diaspora, knows about manufacturing, if you're in the diaspora that knows about agriculture, and knows about technology, back office processing, this is the place to be. And that is where if you don't remember anything I say tonight, is you will be left behind and you will see Guyana develop to a developed state, and you will wonder what happened. I drive around Georgetown right now and a part of the country, and I go, what happened? Where did this come from? It's happening so fast that even me living here can't understand what is happening. We are moving from 120,000 barrels of oil a day to 800,000 barrels of oil in a few years, to 1 million barrels of oil faster. Exxon just sold out 100%, 80% of their assets in Ghana to throw it in Guyana. Why? Because Guyana development, we just struck oil again today. So you've got to look at the leveraging. How do you leverage the spin-off opportunities, right? What the president said the other day in a speech to an opening of an Italian company here in Guyana, he said, if we in Guyana can understand that we can do logistics, we can do manufacturing, we can do agriculture, we've got to step up to the plate and ensure that we have first priority. That's why he's pushing local content. That's why he's telling all of us in Guyana and diaspora, get here, let's do it. If you're a business person and you're not in Guyana looking to make money, then you're off track, right? And it is happening. Let's use the term, catch the president's vision, be part of the development, don't be left behind. And what is important to me as a former diaspora now living in Guyana is the fact I had a lot of vision, a lot of dreams. And you know what? When I decided to move back to Guyana, I realized I want to see those things happen. So I'm going to be part of the development. I feel the passion. Not everybody's going to feel the same passion, but even if you don't want to return to Guyana, contribute to our development. I talk about knowledge transfer, I talk about financial investment or physical investment. And your panelists today, I know all 3 of them, and I can tell you, all 3 of them, I feel is part of our nation, and they don't live in Guyana, but I will tell you, they are part of Guyana's development.
Okay, so Gavin, I mean, you go there to invest. I mean, how safe do you feel in terms of secure you feel about your investment? It's a topic that was sent to me by people watching right now. They want to know, they want to be sure about, look, I'm going to Ghana to invest. I want to be sure that I'm going there and I'm not going to lose my money. And if whatever money I earned, I can bring it back to the US or wherever.
So a couple of things. When we think about investment in Ghana from a financial setting, we see a move that's robust in terms of building out our Securities Council, capital markets. We see all that has happened in terms of trying to build out our reporting mechanisms. So these are all steps that are tantamount to a developing country in developed countries. So those things are happening. The government is definitely on board and is pushing for these things to happen quicker. That way, as international companies, as single investors, as institutional investors decide to invest in Guyana, this regime, this architecture of of financial security is in place to help. But again, the important is going to be on the independent investor in understanding the landscape, in understanding where we are as a country, and how investments will play. There is going to be a risk rating, right? There are things that we're going to be watchful of. Those are going to have to be taken into account and discounted in your investment strategy. And so we're doing the same homework that we do across the world. We're measuring risk, we're looking at our capital, and we're hedging that to where the development is. And certainly, higher the risk, higher the reward. But there could be some loss. I think all of that is built into any algorithm of a business investor and being savvy. So you measure those things, you leverage one against the other, and I'm betting that on Guyana's development, there's a big uptick. And most people who know Guyana and who have kind of see these things in large scale know that if we do our work, we take a little bit of risk, I think you'll be on the right side of history.
And Dr. Ramsarouf did point out that things are moving very, very fast in Guyana. Investors are coming in, and you've got to go soon, if not now. Dave, your experience?
Beforehand, Dr. Vishnu, I used to have a lot of problems exporting. I must say, with this new government, it's not anymore. And some of the issues were with GRA, processing of documents and all these things to do with GRA.
So this government is business friendly.
Business friendly. And you can talk to them and they listen to you. And I used to have a lot of issues. And it used to take about 2 weeks to process an export document, then 1 week. 2 weeks ago, I was with the Commissioner of Customs, Biku, and it takes less than a day to process document. And that is what I was looking for. They had some issues where you have to send different officers, and you have to go and pick them up, different CANU officers and GUI and DUI. And it was very frustrating doing the export. I don't mind the examination. So now Customs is putting their head together and are doing a fantastic job where we are exporting and they do the scanning very professional now, and it's business friendly. We're doing excellent now.
And your investments have been secure. You're able to take your profits abroad and
yes,
expand in your investments.
I take my profits abroad, and I'm expanding both places, both countries. In Guyana I'm investing and over here, so I don't bring out all the profits alone and leave it in States. I do have a lot of investment in Guyana.
And so you're not worried about your business being expropriated as happened in the 70s and 80s?
No, not at all. Not at all with this new...
Not under this government. Yeah. Okay.
No, this government is very, very business friendly. And I can talk to them and they listen. They try to work with you.
Mahendra?
Yeah, well, not to rehash all that's being said, but as I alluded to earlier, I said the atmosphere, the environment is conducive for investment. So that by itself gives the investing public some level of confidence to come to Guyana and invest. But as I said, it's still measured against inherent risks, certain risks that have to be taken into consideration when you're doing investment. What I feel the concerns are for some individuals is that when they don't do prudent research or checks, they go into some investment opportunities and then they're caught in it, and then they want to take that red paint across everything. It cannot be that way. So you have to exercise due diligence, one, but I also feel the government is on the right path of creating additional mechanisms in the system to ensure additional securities are afforded to investors. What I feel there's opportunities also still out there which the diaspora can collaborate with Guyana, such as a credit rating agency, maybe an independent sort of business rating agency, maybe working alongside our judicial system on property right protection. Guyana is on the verge of looking at all of these things, but I feel these are opportunities where the diaspora could bring its expertise alongside what we have in Guyana and expedite some of these processes so it brings us or catapults us to that level of what maybe the diaspora individuals are saying, well, they want to have that degree of level of comfortness. So I feel, while as you add that question, what the diaspora could do for Guyana and what Guyana could do for the diaspora, it speaks about collaboration. And the collaboration is critical because once we could recognize those areas, those gaps, we could help the government and also help ourselves as a diaspora in those areas. So I think it's a two-way street.
So I want to get back to what Dave said earlier, that years ago, it used to take forever to get approval for a business project, a business investment. And India had encountered the same problem, similar problem as Guyana is today or was a few years ago. And what Prime Minister Modi did was to make it a one-stop process. You come there as an investor, someone from the diaspora or any foreign investor, and everything will be done at one stop. Dr. Ramswarup, are we looking at that? Make it easy for the investor, for the diaspora to come one stop for permit, and get license and so forth?
Yeah, we have an initiative on a single window initiative right now from our president that is being finalized. And that would allow you to, when you register your company, to get your TIN number, to process your regular permits, all that is being finalized, and hopefully in a shorter period of time that we are implementing that from a technological perspective. Processes are being changed. Right now, for example, my office is do our best to be that front end for investors. You come in, you go through our processes. If you're looking for an EPA permit, as long as it's an official project in our office, we will help facilitate that the best way we can. But a single window initiative will do exactly what other countries have done. It's a great initiative, and I really believe it will improve our processes and our measurement to ensure that an investor don't get the runaround. And Dave is right. In the past, definitely you could have gone for many different agencies and feel that you've been, ignored. We don't want that to happen. And we are
doing away with red tape.
Yes.
You're doing away with the red tape.
As best as we can, we are moving to that direction. And I can tell you, if I was to get a complaint that an investor, and I know Mr. Allen is online, that couldn't get it, as he worked towards his hotel development project, there are holdups definitely in the system. But whatever we can do to facilitate that, we have to do our best to make it happen, and we will become better. Our president is very process oriented. He believes in metrics. He believes in measuring. He believes I can't answer the phone and says, Mr. President, let me check on it. He expects us to know what we have done. And his approach to management is very business-like. I'm a businessman, and I can tell you our president would not answer that, let me get back with you tomorrow. He expects us to know that answer and to be able to measure our jobs the best way we can. And as you know, you can't manage what you can't measure.
Is there an office, like if an investor encounters a problem, an obstacle, a hindrance, is there an office he or she can go to and yes, go ahead.
Right here. Right here.
They come to you.
Absolutely. If an investor is complaining they didn't get somewhere, I've got to take the responsibility. And our job at the Guyana Office of Investment is to ensure any investor, whether it's local or foreign, gets the same treatment. Our job is to make it happen. And if we didn't make it happen, that means I have failed at my job. And failure is not an option.
On that very point, one of the viewers just texted me about equal opportunities for all, local, diaspora, and foreigners. Somehow they felt some foreigners are getting more privileges, more advantages.
I can tell you the answer is 100% no. As I said, I am so proud to tell the world today that our local investors have stepped up to the president's vision from manufacturing to fabrication to the oil support services to agriculture. The diaspora stepped up. Foreign companies coming in have stepped up. Both FDI and local content initiatives are very, very important to our country. We cannot develop without one or the other. Our office does not discriminate between foreign and local. And I don't think I've ever got a complaint in my office that says we didn't do the job that we're supposed to do.
So it's equal opportunities across the board. Viewers, listeners, equal opportunities across the board. Whoever sent me that question, that note. So I now want to move on to health, because that's another issue that members of the diaspora have brought up. And so rather than go to Dr. Ramsrup to address it, I just want the experience of these three gentlemen, their concerns about health in Guyana. Dave, we should begin with you.
Health. I think there's a few folks that I know, personally, they're going to build some American standard hospital and going to give the foreign services that they have experience in states or overseas sooner or later there. I don't think we're up to that standard as of now. I think we are improving a lot, but we have a little way to go.
I'm sure it's on the government's agenda, and I will get to Dr. Ramsrup last on that one about the specialty hospital. I'm sure the government is looking at the specialty hospital again. Gavin?
So I'm going to use a simple example. A couple weeks ago, I needed to travel back into the U.S. Quickly, and I woke up Saturday and I said, you know what, I've got to try to get out today. And then I realized I needed to have a COVID PCR test done to get on that exact date. I was able to go to Sheriff Medical Clinic and have that PCR test done in about an hour. And I was off to the airport at 11 to be on an American Airlines flight into Miami. So look, things are moving along. We comparable to any place in the world. There's movement in healthcare. There's always an improvement that can be done in healthcare outcomes. The U.S. is working on that. France is working on that. And so I think we just collaboratively need to work together with the expertise that we have in the diaspora and in Guyana just to improve it. And it's an evolutionary process, right? It keeps changing day after day. New technologies and those things are going to require that we continue to keep working at it. So there's areas of improvement to be had, but the process is definitely moving along. I was excited that I was able to travel that same day.
Yeah, I too also had an expeditious antigen test. Was done within 15 minutes, faster than it was done in New York, I must confess. And it was done at a government clinic, so I must tell you that. Mahendra?
Yeah, so quickly.
What concerns have you heard about health?
Well, I think health is on everybody's mind these days with the global pandemic, but you have these concerns any part of the world you go, right? I think Guyana's health system is on the rise. It's improving, in a fast, rapid pace, but it's an opportunity again for concrete discussion, investment opportunities. And not to say that the government has shied away from this. The government had proposed the specialty hospital way when they were in government, but because of a single majority of the opposition, they killed that project. So Guyana would have been at least farther ahead if that project would have gone through. So not to blame or not to cast the finger in the past, but the agenda, the manifest agenda was there to bring Guyana in alignment with the investment, with the horizon opportunities. So I think, again, it shows maturity in the government's vision. Because if we had done that specialty hospital, we had done the hydro project, it would have really pulled Guyana so far ahead by now, and maybe would have been, as prepared with some of these developed countries. We cannot compete on that level, but at least we are on the verge of getting more competitive medicine practice. Some major surgeries are being done in Guyana that world-class facilities in the United States cannot simply take, a lot of brain power. We have brain surgery being done in Guyana at such a successful rate. So all of those are wins. We cannot just isolate and look at one side of the coin. We have to look at both sides of it. While there are still ways to go, we have to take it step by step. I think transformation is gradual, but little transformation and constant transformation is better than no transformation at all.
Dr.
additional,
Ramsey, you want to carry off
That's
this
one
issue on
point. I want to
Go ahead,
use this
Dave.
platform. We are taking an antigen test to leave Guyana to the States. However, we have to take a PCR test from the States to go to Guyana. It's a little more expensive, a little more long-winded, and it's a little more complicated. I wonder if we, the government, Dr. Ramsrup, can change that to the antigen test, because it costs $200, $180, $120. It takes 2-3 days to get, and we need to look into that, because if we can get an antigen test to go to Guyana, it will be very good.
Dr. Ramsrup, is it something that you would want to bring to the government's attention?
Well, I believe our health sector analysis from Dr. Anthony is very on target. We have risk from around the world that we have to protect in our nation. We are doing the vaccines. We are 44+% of vaccines now in our country. We have to protect our citizens. So I think I'm very proud of our health sector and how they have managed the COVID pandemic. We have done an extremely good job by preventing the input of disease or the COVID-19 from around the world in our nation. We have Brazil, who has 4,000 deaths a day recently. Guyana has done extremely well. So I would not hit and change any of our health policy until our health sector feels very comfortable that it has done everything to protect our nation. So I'm sure at some point it will happen, but I don't believe at this point we feel confident that without the review of nations around the world that we can change it, but it will be changed once the risk factors go down. But I want to get back to Mahindra's point, and it was so positive. The fact, I would only add one negative to this point. I believe it's criminal that APNU canceled the specialty hospital for our citizens of our country. It is the one most damning thing they could have done by stopping a specialty hospital. The fact is, no concern for the future health of our nation. As I get old, when that happened, I was so upset that, if something was to happen, I need specialty care. Here is a government that in the past would have canceled something so needed for our nation. But our president has outlined it. It now gives us an opportunity. And Min just talked about it. I've got probably 6 proposals on my desk for private sector hospitals across Guyana. We got one going up in Lenora. You talk about Sheriff Medical expanding. We've got some overseas Guyanese in Guyana looking to build specialty hospitals across Guyana. So it's an opportunity that he mentioned. We are moving rapidly ahead with providing quality health care to our citizens. And it gives an opportunity for anybody listening out there in the diaspora. We've got one of the best neurosurgeons in our nation. Mahendra said, I'm so proud to see pediatric neurology. We've got one of the best cardiac unit in our nation. So we are getting there. We may not be up to the level that you may expect in a Cleveland clinic or a Baptist hospital, but I can tell you some of those same names I mentioned is looking at coming into Guyana. We are primed for medical tourism. We're primed for a lot of opportunities in the healthcare sector. So it gives an opportunity for the diaspora to look at the healthcare sector to move it forward. So definitely, I'm proud of what our health sector has done so far. And health is something that we should never stop at. As we get older, we get very concerned with our health care, and we want the best care. I'm sitting right here. You mentioned a test. I went for my test today. I'm traveling to Miami tomorrow morning, and within a few hours, I've got my test back. And it was at a very reasonable cost for my PCR test. So I'm happy that the efficiency of our capability, and I could tell you, as foreigners come into my office, diaspora come in my office, that's one thing they said. The efficiency that they've seen in us delivering on something as simple as a PCR test is important to them. And as they travel back out, we will get there on some of the high level, but don't ever let us forget that APNU criminally caused our population to suffer for almost 10 years, from 2001 when they stopped the specialty hospital till our president said now it's back on the table. And I'm proud to say private sector has stepped up, and they are now looking to build the gap between what we have and what we will need in the future.
There are two other issues that people have raised in text to me, and one is infrastructure and the other one is agriculture. So first, let's deal with infrastructure. One cannot talk about infrastructure now in light of the flooding. I mean, this is unprecedented rainfall that has led to, it's a natural disaster. But generally speaking, I think a lot has been done on infrastructure, in particular roads and highways. And I believe that the government does have a very intensive program for road development over the next 5 years. Doc, do you want to talk a little about it, Dr. Armstrong?
Well, I mean, that's probably one of our key components of our president's vision. If you look at his 2021 budget, right, our plan over the next 5 years is 2,000 miles of new roads. You know, we're going to have the bypass road in Georgetown. We're going to be building a new highway to Mary. We're going to be building a new highway from Freedom Loop. We're going to be building the Demerara Bridge. We're going to be putting out an EOI on the Deepwater Harbor. Guyana infrastructure and any development of our nation requires the development of infrastructure. President talks about the development of a new city. He's rapidly moving in that direction. With infrastructure, I would add the integrated energy solution. Our vice president has talked about, you know, moving the gas to shore, the renewable energy, the hydro, the integrated wind and solar power. As you bring energy costs down, plus infrastructure, Guyana becomes, again, what we hope it to be. It will be ready for development. And the influx, when I say 6 private jets, much less the hundreds that shows up in our office that are submitted proposal, when it's in agriculture, we, with our budget, for example, as you expand infrastructure, you open up new agriculture lands. We only cultivate 8.4% of our lands right now in agriculture. Guyana should be cultivating 60%. So as you open up our lands through the infrastructure, I've got folks coming in looking at large-scale soybeans, large-scale cattle farming. You know, when we get to that level, you're going to see our country move. You know, people talk about the breadbasket of the Caribbean. The Caribbean imports over $5 billion plus US dollars worth of goods every year. Imagine when we now build that Deepwater Harbor, we can get our goods to market. You know, Dave is primed to probably become the new billionaire of Guyana because he's into the aquaculture and the agriculture sector. The expansion is so fascinating. And, you know, it's where the next big wave, outside of oil and gas, the next big wave of Guyana is in agriculture and is agro-processing. We will be, our percentage or per cost kilowatt will be so competitive, you would want to produce your agro-processing here than in Trinidad or even in the United States. So we're going to be ready for that very soon.
All right, so let's give the others an opportunity to speak about infrastructure. Gavin Allen?
Sure. So the hotel project that we're embarking on is going to go into the new Ogle area. Pristine, it's going to be one of the new affluent neighborhoods in Guyana for development. And recently we did an on-site walk of that proposed site. However, there were some concerns and some questions that came up by our geotechnical crew, by our land survey crew, by the construction companies in terms of infrastructure development of that particular area as we move forward. And you know, I want to apologize to Dr. Ramsroot, but we reached out to him in the middle of the night with questions, and we get rapid response, not only to him, but other individuals involved in this development trajectory. And we asked about how can we collaborate together in getting the infrastructure development ongoing. And the Office of Go Invest and the Ministry of Tourism and Commerce came back, and they're willing to put together a meeting with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Development, CHPA, and all the other relevant stakeholders to let's at least start discussing how this infrastructure development rollout can work to get the process moving forward. So I think I was happily informed that that meeting is going to be set up soon so that all stakeholders can come to the table, come with a solution, and let's figure out how we can move these projects forward, right? So that's important because it reassures the investors, it reassures everyone that, you know, everybody is on script, and we're trying to align how we're going to make development run as efficiently.
And so you're pleased with the effort the government is making at the moment.
Absolutely. And we've reached out, and you know, I'm happy to report I can almost reach decision makers if I need to, you know, by WhatsApp or by phone, and they are responsive. So that's important for development, and that's important for investors because I can quickly answer investors or other people with a higher pay grade than mine on questions as how we move forward in developing a project as large as ours in Ghana. So definitely I'm happy about that.
Dave Narayan, your problems, challenges, concerns about infrastructure in Guyana?
No, Vish, I think the government is doing a fantastic job. They have it on plan. They start to do some stuff, and I am waiting to see their plans unveiled. You see, what is happening with us here? We are only being critical. We want Guyana to be America or Canada or Singapore. We got to
But nothing's wrong with that,
time.
Dave. There's nothing wrong if Guyana becomes a Singapore.
No. I didn't say that. I said we wanted that to happen overnight.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, and we are so critical of everything that the government do. They're too slow at doing it. But you got to get a love for your country. You have to get a love for your country, and you got to work with your country. And that's what I personally had. I had a love for my country for years ago, and I work with it, with the pros and the cons. And as Dr. Ramsrup said, you know, it's beneficial now in the agriculture and the aquaculture. And I'm doing very fine and very good. I'd like to promote Guyana. I am in this field. So I love to promote Guyana's product overseas. You know, the sugar and the rice and the fish.
But if there's a bump or a blockage along the path, the people should complain. They should point it out.
No, and I agree with you.
And Gavin did say that yeah, you know, he has no problems meeting decision makers, talking to decision makers.
No, but I'm one of the biggest critics too, but I'm just making a point. You know, I like to be critical, you know.
Yeah, Mahendra?
Well, just to build upon that last maybe few words that they've said, you know, the government, you know, you have to criticize them constructively, because I feel that is also an opportunity for them to know when there are areas to improve on, right? The government does not have a panacea to all of the problems. The government is really proposing programs and policies that will propel certain economic activity or certain social activities, and along the way there will be problems, there will be gaps, but these are opportunities for people in Guyana and abroad to say, well, hey, let's raise our hands, do it in a constructive manner, because that will not benefit one individual, but individual across the spectrum. What is important a part of that equation is that the government is willing to listen. And that is what is driving the development agenda here, because the government has a vision, and alongside that vision, there's actual active measures being taken to achieve those plans ahead. You know, not to beat up the past administration, and I'm just going to nail this point home. APNO AFC coalition, when they took office in 2015, lost one of the greatest opportunity to rule Guyana, because of their negligence and their agenda different from the agenda of the people of Guyana. It has put Guyana a few years back, but the PPP is repairing that damage. So one has to look at this by saying that we have to also take what we have now and build from it. As we said, there are projects that should have been in place to propel Guyana forward, the specialty hospital, the hydro project, different projects that was killed basically because of political vendetta. You're killing communities by closing the sugar industry while you know the backbone of Guyana has been agriculture. So if you don't diversify the economy, when oil goes away, when it's fully depleted, what happens? We become the next Venezuela. So that is why agriculture has to always be a mainstream focus agenda for the government and for the people, right? Because communities are built around sugar estates, built around sugar, and the sugar industry or the rice industry is what drives economic output for these communities and what triggers macroeconomic impact on communities. Talking about the multiplier effect, how $1 generates the next dollar. So when we talk about policies, I think the atmosphere is here, and I will leave on this note. I think the government are taking the right steps. The diaspora has a part to play in that, in holding the hands of our colleagues in Guyana and really capitalizing on opportunities and gaps that we can develop, correct, and work in tandem. I think it's critical. The mindset about this has to change.
Thank you very much, Mahendra Hariraj.
And I have to jump off, Dr. Bishan.
Manhattan. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. We'll continue the discussion with the other three presenters. Dr. Ramstroop talked about agro industries, and I think we are some years away from there because we don't have the industrial power, generated electrical power to get into agro processing at the moment. So we have to focus on exports of our fruits and vegetables at the moment. And some people have expressed concern. Vishnu Mahadev, for example, is a champion, very, very passionate about exporting Guyana's fruits and vegetables abroad. But somehow farmers are also complaining, look, we can't get markets overseas. So Dave, are you familiar? What are the concerns, problems with overseas marketing and the export of our fresh fruits and vegetables?
We are limited by the USDA to import certain fruits and vegetables. We are very limited. I think we can only import pineapple legally into this country.
Whenever I go to Guyana, I bring quite a lot. Huh?
Right, pineapple you can bring. I think Dr. Ramsur might be able to help us here. If we have a hot water treatment, I think we could be able to bring in much more fruits.
That's right.
We are limited in terms of vegetable, coconut, and bora, pumpkin. We could bring those, but we cannot bring like all the other vegetables and fruits. So if we do have a hot water treatment, the Guyana government, with collaboration with the USDA, we could do better.
Dr. Ramstroop, you want to add to that? Are you familiar with that issue?
Well, definitely, Dave is right. To meet the USDA standards, there are definitely some improvements that we would have to make in Guyana to get there. So again, it creates opportunities. But I want to go back. The U.S. is not the only market. As an investor looking at the opportunities, the Caribbean market, $5 to $8 billion import of food every year from Thailand, Costa Rica, and other areas. If we can get to being captivating a piece of that market, you can do extremely well. Agro-processing, definitely. But I use the Wayne Gretzky quote where he says, you don't skate to where the puck is today. You're scared to where the puck is going to be. And so if you know cheaper energy is coming to Guyana, you've got to start building that agro-processing plant now. You've got to skate to where the puck is going to be. 3 years from now, you're already behind. So as investors come in, they're seeing where those opportunities are. Yes, there are barriers to export, but we have to look at our bilateral treaties we have with CARICOM. We've got to look at bilateral treaties with Europe. What are the best markets for certain products? As we improve efficiency and packaging to the United States, that will get better. And I can tell you we're working aggressively on all those export capacity right now. So as an investor, don't limit yourself to say, I've got a barrier to the United States, so I'm not coming to Guyana. If I'm an investor, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to come to Guyana and says, okay, I'm going to export fresh fruits and vegetables to Barbados. You know, when the cruise ship used to land in St. Martin and it used to refuel pre-COVID, 2 747s used to land from Thailand every day with bananas and plantains and all the fresh fruits. But Guyana has those things too. We have not figured out how to get to those markets. We've got to improve our packaging facilities. We've got to improve our shipping capacity. And those are areas, as I tell the diaspora, those are areas for investment. And those are where you can see a return on investment much more than many other initiatives that you may think of.
And doesn't government have some processing facilities as well? I mean, I recall visiting one in Puerto Rico, for example.
Yes, but we're looking
accessible.
Yeah,
to,
one of our Invest 55 projects is really to look at the expansion of packaging. And it's not just about packaging. We've got to put much more science in agriculture. So when we plant our watermelons, we've got to plant it to the same size. How do we get there? So when you package it, it fits in one box. It's not bruised when it's shipped. So again, it's limitations, but those limitations create opportunities. And those opportunities are where an investor got to study where they fit and how they can improve those efficiencies. So I don't see it as a barrier. I see it as an opportunity for investors to fix it and get to the market and deliver and get a good return on investment.
Gavin, you want to make any points on that?
Yes, certainly. So in my previous life, I headed up a compliance group for UPS on the West Coast. And part of my role was to ensure that we met the quality management systems environment. And so I think, as Dr. Ramcharu says well, is we know that energy cost is going to be decreased, allowing for that opportunity for agriculture, agro, packaging, that things to take hold. I think now is the time to start building up these management systems, these quality systems, so that when energy and all the other pieces that come together, we have a robust system to attract international markets. We know, quote unquote, that some of these markets are protected. We've got very good folks across the diaspora who can start help lobbying, right? To open some of these markets so that some of our products, which I believe will be better in quality, better pricing, competitive to anyone else, that we can get into those markets. But I think the work has to be done from now in preparing for that market. So I think government is full aware of what needs to be done. I think we just need to work hand in hand to ensure that both the diaspora and our local Guyanese and government were working together in preparation, right? Because we can't wait. We want to be, turnkey ready once energy has been decreased and once we have that manufacturing piece together.
And we do want to encourage import of goods from Guyana. And Dr. Ramcharu, but I don't know if government can do anything about this, but businesses tend to import things from Thailand or Indonesia or the Dominican Republic or Costa Rica or some of the other Central American nations, especially sugar and so forth, and they rebrand it made in Guyana. Is there anything that can be done? I'm not sure something can be done, but it's a concern because we are cheating the Guyanese farmers if we don't import their product from Guyana and we import it from somewhere else and we're packaging it as Guyana.
Well, definitely, we've got to pay attention to all those areas as we go forward. So, I mean, if you think of
by the way, by no means am I throwing any parables at Dave Narayana.
No. I need that help. Because I happen to bring all the Guyanese product here, and I have a bottle selling the Guyana sugar here because they're other sugar from other companies. That's a big flag and a map, and everybody thinks it's Guyana. I just brought that to their attention. Years ago, I brought it to the government, and I just brought it to the CEO of Gaisupu again. So I'm having a battle. So I would like to have government intervention helping me promoting Guyanese product over here, because I have that product.
So I'm really battling for you. I have to send you a bill.
So that
listen, gentlemen, we are about time. We just have a couple minutes left. So first, let me express my gratitude, thanks, appreciation for spending an hour and a half with us this evening. I'll give you our final comments. I'll begin with you first, Gavin.
So I want to say to my Guyanese counterparts in the diaspora that there is a golden opportunity that awaits all of us if we work in the collective. I think Guyana has an awesome opportunity for us to live a better and improved lives in Guyana as opposed to abroad. It certainly comes with hard work, with some dedication, love for country, brotherhood, countryhood, for us to come together and to make the experience work. Look, we've got lots of others here that are part of our development. We need all our brothers and sisters either to come back, hearts and mind, or to sell that vision of development across the globe. The opportunities are limitless. You're going to put some work in, but you'll be handsomely rewarded. Guyana is here and on the improve.
Well stated. Thank you so much. So articulate indeed. Dave, final words?
I tell everyone that if we don't seize the opportunity to invest in Guyana or go and live back or get a piece of land or a couple of trees, you will never get back an opportunity because the price would go up 4, 5, 10 times. And there will never be an opportunity. Foreign people from all over the nation, like what we did in the States, foreigners buy over everything. That is what's going to happen in Guyana. Let's seize the opportunity as the diaspora over here to go back to Guyana. And not everybody is into business or investment, but you can make a contribution in any little way.
I come to you last, Dr. Ramsuru, because I'm not concerned, but I got a text in which people want to know whether a list is prepared. Is there such a list of investment opportunities in Guyana? Does Go Invest have that? And if not, would you consider putting up such a list on your website? And if you could tell us as well how to access your website so that people can go to Go Invest and look to see how they could come and invest in Guyana.
Yes, we have more than a website. We have a portal, goinvest.gov.gy. We launch on Independence Day our Invest 55 program, 55 areas where we feel there are opportunities for investment. We have on our website that describe the incentives the government is willing to offer in areas of manufacturing and agriculture and tourism. What you can expect that government will provide to you if you come in and invest in our country. So yes, our portal describes that in extremely detail, and our office is available to answer further questions. I want to end my comments too with, thank my colleagues that I believe did an extremely great job in promoting our nation. Our president, since taking office, has created a sense of pride, a commitment of duty, a sense of duty to our country. He has instituted an innovation approach to embracing changes in our approach to governance, transparency, and accountability. He's creating a culture of excellence in our education system and areas that can show the integration between the diaspora and our on-ground Guyanese. So as we pull all of this together, I would end to say that in catching the president's vision, in recommitting to our patriotism of our nation, recommitting to what we believe Guyana should look like, it gives all of us the opportunity to participate in the development, to benefit from the development, because the benefits will be significant as we move forward. So that culture of excellence that our president has instituted cuts across all political divide. He's the president for all of Guyana. If you see him over the last couple weeks, he's in every region. We have one of the worst disasters that have happened in our nation. We are now a category 2, we call it, where we do need international help. We have never seen such rainfall. Our neighboring Brazil has faced with some of the same issues. We ask all Guyanese around the world to pray for our citizens. If you can contribute the best way you can to recover and to rebuild our nation. You know, thousands of our farmers have lost their livelihood. And I want to appeal to Guyanese around the world. This is the time that as we commit to the future of our nation, we've got a crisis. Let's get together, make it happen. But as we move forward, be part of Guyana's development, be part of our president's vision, and I think all of us will see the benefit. And that flag that we fly around the world, that beautiful Guyana flag, that patriotism we feel when we meet each other at the airport, I believe if we can commit to the development of a nation together, Guyana will be exactly what we dream it can be. And I would like to end to say, we welcome our diaspora back. There's no difference between our diaspora local on investment, and we want to see that the togetherness happen. And as a business person, as a citizen, the benefits are here for you to enjoy. Our president is the president for all of Guyana, and all of Guyana include the diaspora in New York, in Miami, in Toronto, in London, in Australia. I mean, we had 1,000+ people around the world from all parts of every country that I could imagine in our diaspora conference. And it was beautiful to see the commitment that Guyanese feel that they can now contribute to our nation. And our presidents welcome you home, and he welcomes you, even if you stay where you're at, he welcomes you to be part of our nation.
I thank you very much, gentlemen. Dr. Peter Ramsarup from Go Investment, Gavin Alain, and Dave Narayan, as well as Mahindra Hariraj. I am Vishnu Bisram. You have been watching Globespan 24x7, owned and operated by Mr. Noor Singh, with Devin Bissoon as our technical assistant. Thank you and good evening all.